as the gas binding site, the gas bind not in the active site but close to the active site, is an indirect mechanism of inhibition. So the inhibition induced by the gas are in the same order than the expansion induced by the gas. That's a nice correlation between the expansion and the inhibitions. So there's a really relationship between the structural effect of the gas, which is the expansion, and the functional effect of the gas, which is the inhibition. So this work was published in a FASEB journal last year. We wanted also to investigate the pressure effect of this enzyme. We have used interesting fluorescence spectroscopy, since this enzyme has a lot of tryptophan. And we saw that up to a pressure of about 1700 bars, the protein stays stable. And above this pressure, we have a shift to the higher wavelength, which is indicative of the exposure of tryptophan to solvent and the unfolding of the proteins. With the Sachs with small angle express scattering is also in solution, we have the same results, that above around 1700 bars the protein is unfolded, and there's a minimum with characteristic of the tetramer, and this minimum disappear around this pressure. So there's two behavior of the enzyme, below and above around 1700 bar. We also wanted to analyze the pressure effect on the function of fat oxidase, as we have done with gas. The active site is located at an interface between two subunits. So as soon as the protein is unfolded, the protein is not active. So the catalytic activity of the enzyme is related to the integrity of the tetramer. As you can see here, above 1700 bars, the protein is unfolded, so not active. But very interestingly, in this area, the protein is still soluble, so it's still a tetramer, but we already lost around 30% of activity. So there's the pressure induces an inhibition of the catalytic activity of fat oxidase. The presence of the ligand, the inhibitor at the interface, stabilizes the proteins against the effect of pressure. Here is the fat oxidase with no ligand, with ligand in equimolar concentration and with ligand in excess concentration. And there's a shift of the pressure of dissociation. So there will be a stabilization role of this ligand, which is at the interface. So here's the complete model of the pressure-induced dissociation of fat oxidase. At ambient pressures and equilibrium, which is shifted towards the complex, where the concentration of the inhibitor is increased. And when pressure is increased, you arrive in this state, which is a pressure paired up stage, which is as told you, less active, still tetramer, still soluble, but less active. There's a loss of catalytic activity. The tetramer the protein is less affine for the ligand, and at a certain pressure, there's a release of the ligand to arrive at the apotetramer, and a progressive dissociation of the tetramer. The process is become irreversible, and after there's aggregates. So to study this pressure per substrate, I've used again X-ray crystallography. So you put the crystal of a protein inside the diamond anvil cell. We use only, again, we found that we lost the diffraction, so we lost the proteins above around this 1700 bars. So we have done two data collections, one at ambient pressure and one at 1500 bars. So this is a state where the proteins is still tetrameric, still soluble, still diffracting, but already less active. So as you can see, we need a large crystal because when you shoot the crystal with X-ray, it destroys the crystal. So we translate on the crystal. So if the crystal is too small and too fragile, you cannot do this kind of experiment. As expected, the volume of the cavity is reduced by pressure. That's the first main effect of pressure, is to reduce volume. What was more unexpected is that the volume of the active site is increased by pressure. So there's a relationship between this volume and this volume. So the pressure has an effect on both on the cavity and the active site. active site need to be enlarged during the catalytic reaction since the intermediates are larger than the substrate. So we are probably catch an active state of the enzyme by the pressure. So as I told you, gas in UAT oxidase induce a cavity expansion, forbids the contraction of the cavity by the presence of the gas, and inhibits the catalytic mechanism. Pressure induce a cavity contraction, and by the presence of the pressure forbids the cavity expansion and inhibits the catalytic mechanism. So we can say that the flexibility of the active site is necessary for the catalytic activity, and the gas or the pressure induce a loss of flexibility of the cavity, so induce a loss of flexibility in the active site. So this work has been published in Biophysical Journal in 2010. So perhaps we can see that this is a reversal pressure effect. It's difficult to conclude about that, but we have opposite effect on gas and pressure. Our second structural model was elastase. Elastase is interesting because it binds xenon or nitrous oxide in a pocket, a solvent accessible pocket, which is directly the active site. It's a serine protease, and here is the primary specificity pocket S1 of serine protease, with a loosely bound water molecule, which is replaced by gas when we put xenon or nitrous oxide. And it's a moderately hydrophobic site with a lot of carbon, but also oxygen atom. As in UAT oxidase, the gas occupancy grows with the pressure. And in the range 1 to 10 bars, which is the one which is considered to be equivalent to physical condition, the occupancy of nitrous oxide is higher than the occupancy of the mixture, which is higher than the occupancy of the xenon. As in UAT oxidase, we have performed activity assay on elastase. This gas binds directly the active site. Here you can see an inhibitor of elastase, and xenon takes the same place. It's a direct mechanism of inhibition. The experiment has to be redone because you have a problem with gas which is not well bubble. Anyway, we have the inhibition by nitrous oxide, which is a little higher than the inhibition induced by the mixture, which is a little higher than the inhibition induced by xenon. So it's the same order than the occupancy. So again, we have a correlation between the occupancy and the inhibition. So it's not, it's the presence of the gas induces an inhibition. As the more the gas, the more inhibition it induces. What was interesting in elastase as a model, it is a serine protease like TPA, and TPA is the only treatment in ischemic stroke for its thrombolytic action. And as all serine proteases, the active sites are very similar. The catalytic triad are exactly the same position. Here is the superposition of elastase and TPA, and the xenon is the position located in elastase. So we can deduce that in TPA, very likely the xenon will bind at the same position, and the xenon will directly inhibit TPA catalytic activity. It has been checked by in vitro activity assay on TPA, that xenon and nitrous oxide inhibit TPA activity. Here's the location of, here's the TPA stop, which is an inhibitor of TPA. You can see that xenon or nitrous oxide takes the same location. This induces a therapeutic sequences. Since TPA is used for its thrombolytic action, you have not to put xenon at the same time. So first you have to inject TPA to remove the clots, TPA for its thrombolytic action, and only after a perfusion you can breathe xenon, which is very nephroprotective, and also xenon, since it inhibits TPA, will avoid the deleterious effect of TPA. This work has been published in Journal Cerebral Blood Flow Metabolism for xenon and anesthesiology for nitrous oxide. Our third model is lysozyme. Lysozyme has two gas binding sites. One in the middle here is a very, very small cavity, a small internal cavity which is empty. Only xenon binds very, very weakly because it's too small, and nitrous oxide doesn't bind. And the second gas binding site located at an interface, a crystallographic interface. In solution, lysozyme is a monomer, but when you crystallize it, due to the packing force, it arrives as a dimer, and so this pocket is not physiological. So xenon will bind here. You can see xenon and hydroxide bind between two symmetrics. They bind with a higher occupancy. This site is moderately hydrophobic, but this site is not physiological. In the monomeric enzyme in solution, this site doesn't exist. So as this site is very weakly occupied by gas, by xenon, and this one is not physiological, we can suggest that the enzymatic activity of this enzyme is likely to be not disrupted by gas, but we haven't checked this hypothesis. Our fourth model, structural model is myoglobin. Myoglobin was the first structure that has been solved with xenon back in 1965. Xenon and hydroxide binding 5 gas binding sites, 3 directly very close to the M. Here you can see the M with the proximal histidine, the distal histidine, and here is the place where oxygen would bind. So xenon and hydroxide bind here in this pocket very close to the proximal histidine. Xenon binds with a higher capacity than nitrous oxide. It binds also here, very close to the vinyl group of the heme. And nitrous oxide binds with a higher occupation than xenon. The third location in this cavity is here, very close to the proximal histidine. And there are also 2 internal cavities, one here with the water in the gasless structure. You can see here the site. And one, this is a very small cavity, so gas bind with very weak occupation. So these 3 binding sites located directly in the M cavity, very close to the proximal and distal histidine, and very close to the M, are likely to disrupt. If gas are here, they are likely to modify myoglobin function. But we haven't checked the myoglobin function in presence of gas. Our fifth model is neuroglobin. It's also a globin. It's a neuronal Bowen globin, which has 7 gas binding sites. All these gas binding sites are located at the surface of the neuroglobin. This one is really at a crystallographic interface, so it's not physiological. Here you have 2 gas binding sites close together. This one very weakly occupied, and this one occupied more by nitrous oxide than by xenon. And on the other face, you have 2 other binding sites. One with nitrous oxide, which occupies more than xenon, and a second pocket very weakly occupied. So all these gas binding sites have certainly no physical role. These are on the surface and at crystallographic interface. However, more interesting is these 2 gas binding sites. We are directly in the M pocket. They are just behind the M. And this site, which is here, where xenon and nitrous oxide bind with high occupancy, especially xenon, is located at the bottom of the cavity, close to a tunnel which connects to the surface. And it was postulated that this site is the oxygen storage location before oxygen arrives on the heme. There's a second gas binding site with a weak occupation because of steric clash between the M and the gas which is binding here. And again, the main structural effect of the presence of the gas is an expansion of the cavity where the gas binds. So we have not checked it experimentally, but very likely the presence of gas in this cavity, very close to the heme, and occupying oxygen location, will modify neuroglobin function. But we have to check it, it's underway. As in inverted oxidase, we wanted to investigate the effect of pressure on neuroglobin. Since it's a very interesting globin, it's a globin which is very recently found. It has been discovered in 2000 by Burmester. It presents in deep diving mammals and is upregulated in hypoxia in pressure environment. So it has a suggestional role, but we don't know exactly the function of neuroglobin. It seems to have a role in the protection of neurons from hypoxia. And it also expressed in glioblastomes, that is terrible brain tumor, that are hypoxic brain tumor. So we found neuroglobin when there are pressure and hypoxia. That's why we wanted to investigate the structure under pressure. So we have done the data collection in Saint-Quentin-Soleil in France. The cell is here. And the first thing we have done is the compressibility curve. You look at the volume of the cell as a function of the pressure. And you can see that it's supposed to be linear, and there's a transition here. All these points are in the same slope, and here there's a transition around 3,000 bar.